Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the All Things Georgia call-in show presented by UGAsports.com. I'm your host, Paul Meharry, joined alongside me, as always, Eddie from the A, and we're not talking Atlanta, we're talking Ackworth, and Andy Stowe. We've got a great special guest here from 6A The Fan. It's the home team, Brandon Leak. You hear him just about every day, 6 to 10 in the morning. So on 6A The Fan, can't miss him. I don't want to put you on the spot, home team, but I think you kind of run that show. I'm not gonna,
That's a bit strong. That's a bit strong. We have 5 strong personalities, and somebody just has to be the traffic cop. So I would not say I'm in charge. I am not the leader, and I am not the person who runs the show. I make sure that the frivolity is there as much as it can be, and the foolishness is kept to the right appropriate levels.
You know what I found amazing about that? Right off the bat, Paul Meharry's lips become the shape of your ass. That's what just happened right
No.
That's amazing.
No.
Yeah. That's what happened.
We've had John Michaels on the show. I didn't tell him he ran the show. I've done plenty of shows with John Michaels.
That's a good point. You did not say that. That's right.
But no, so guys, this show's a little bit different than all of our other ones here on the UGA Sports Network. We talk about all things Georgia. You've got Georgia football, you've got Atlanta Falcons, you've got the Atlanta Braves. So tune in with us. We'd love having you here on this Sunday night. Let us know where you're watching from. We'll put it up on the screen. We'll let you know. And then if you have any questions, guys, those questions help this show move along, because if we rely on questions from me, I got extremely drunk last night for the first time in years. At I was the best man at my buddy's wedding. It's been a rough day, guys. So the questions here, they're going to have to flow from Andy and
couldn't
and
even
Eddie.
respond to text. I mean, that's how bad.
I was out.
He was dead. I thought he was dead.
Yeah,
I thought I was too. I thought I was too.
I mean,
hey man, you work hard. You need to play hard every now and then.
Thank you.
We were talking about stuff, and so I sent Eddie a direct text. I was like, I think Paul's probably still asleep, and he was like, "You think he's okay?" I was like, "I'm sure he's fine." So
or he's messing with Mike Tyson and his tiger. That's what he was doing.
I definitely was still asleep, guys, when you texted that this morning. So let's start off with this Georgia Bulldogs, though. Transfer portal season is up to no good for Georgia right now. I mean, they've got the list is above double digits now. You've got the backup quarterback, Brock Vandergriff, a big name in there. You lost Darius Smith earlier on in this a couple weeks before the season, but he was going to play a big role moving forward. Austin Blasky, offensive lineman, was projected to probably start next year. Nyland Green, 5-star corner, gone. Xavier Sori played big-time reps at linebacker for Georgia in the SEC championship game. He's gone. Zine Haynes, a freshman wide receiver who Georgia really, really wanted to keep, he's gone. So, guys, I want to kind of pose this question to you, but is portal season more fun than the recruiting cycle now? Home team, I'll ask you first.
Well, it's more interesting, and I think it's going to go hand in hand now moving forward with championship weekend. After you find out who the champions of the conferences are, or moving next year in the 12-team playoff, who's going to be in the playoff, the next immediate thing you're going to start looking at and start paying attention to is the portal. Who's in, who's out, who's playing in a bowl game, who's not, who's leaving, why should they be leaving. So I think it'll be its own second entity when the portal opens back up, or right before it closes once again. So I think it's very interesting when you see with the Georgia Bulldogs, all those names. The one that surprised me the most was Mekhi Muse. I just thought, obviously he is a wide receiver, and so I'm just assuming he wants to go somewhere and get some more yards and be a bigger part of an offense. But, man, you can have a big role returning kicks and punts and getting in on some sweeps and some, offensive plays, albeit few, moving forward in the Georgia program with the setup they have. That was the one that was the biggest head scratcher to me overall. I could see Vandergriff not sticking around for a long time. And I think that any top 5, top tier program is just going to have to deal with that. Your backup quarterback is always subject to go.
Sure.
Yeah. What did you guys, who's the big surprise? Muse is a great one. I like that home team because I thought he had kind of niched out a role for himself with one of the top 5 teams, and I guess he wants to go be that star wide receiver at a smaller school. But he's almost a niche type player to where I don't know if you're going to get 80 targets in a season. If he does, more power to him. He did great for Georgia. He's been in some interviews, great kid. So, more power to him. But I think this probably the wrong move for him. Now, there's some guys on this list that, yes, this move made sense. Muse was one I didn't think made sense. Any other names so far for Georgia that you didn't like to see in there?
I think Austin Blasky. To me, that's the head scratcher. And I'll say about Muse, there's a lot of rumors or so that he may go up to Syracuse with Fran Brown, so that kind of makes sense. But I think Austin Blasky is the biggest head scratcher to me because I thought he was, earlier in the, I guess in spring practice earlier, they were saying can't keep the guy off the field, and now he's gone. So that was the biggest head scratcher. But Zeke Haynes, he was returning punts in the SEC championship game. So he returned that
was Anthony Evans. That was Anthony Evans.
That was Anthony Evans.
And yes.
Gotcha.
So good call. But yeah, so I don't know. I think the Austin Blasky transfer is the head scratcher to me because I thought he was going to be a starter. I mean, he was potentially the starter at center this coming up year. So,
what about you, Eddie?
Well, you say home team Brandon Leak, you say Mekhi Muse, but Mekhi Muse to me was a G-Day star. That's what he was. I mean, he shined on G-Day.
He did great all season. What are you talking about?
What did he do? What did he do? He fielded. He made some fair catches at the 5-yard line. That's not good. You can't be doing that. Sorry. I have literally zero problem with Mekhi Muse leaving because of the way he fielded some punts. I didn't like what he did.
I'm with Eddie. I think he's scary.
He bobbled the ball a lot. He was scary back there. He didn't make good decisions. You got to make good decisions.
He had a punt return for a touchdown. He had 13 catches.
Wait. When was the punt return? Who was that against?
Ball State.
Okay, great. Ball State. Yeah, fantastic. That's a G-Day game. That's what that is. Sorry.
God.
That's what that is. I really don't have a problem with
this is every week, home team. He's the old man. He's on the clouds, and he just like stirs.
Have I yelled at anything?
Just stirs it up.
Okay. Do you think people tune in to listen to us all agree with each other? Do you think that's what they want to see?
But to do it unnecessarily is crazy.
I'm with Eddie though. I agree. I just
there you go.
I don't think Muse brings a lot. He was shifty and he's lightning in the bottle, but he's scary, man. I don't know.
Every time he fielded a punt, it was scary.
That's
to exactly death. Right. Yeah. He bobbled them. He caught him at the 5 and that play, guys, let's go back to it. That play where we fumbled on the 5, we were on the 5 because of Muse. You're supposed to put your feet on the 10, and if it goes over your head, you let it go. And he fair caught that at the 5, and he'd done that numerous times this year. But I'm with Andy. I mean, it's easy to say Austin Blasky. To me, that one bothers me because Cedric Pran is gone. Absolute legend at center. And Blasky was the next center coming in. And I don't understand why he left because he was slotted to play center. That was
Jared Wilson's probably was already going to be the starter. But Blasky, I don't know. Maybe it's just because Blasky knew he wasn't going to win the job. But I don't know. He could play every position. So.
Xavier Story's name is in there. That's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah,
any defensive player, all you have to do is just, Google Kirby Smart and players that go to the NFL. You would rather stick around no matter what your situation is. Back to Mekhi Muse just for a millisecond.
Please do.
Nobody expects the man to be Todd Gurley every time you put him out there. This was his first year in getting those duties as a returner, and he walked on. So when you saw the threat, you can say you're right, Eddie, about what he did with some of the fair catches, but the threat that he posed every time he was out there, certainly coordinators and coaches were looking out for him to make sure that this guy didn't have the one play that would totally flip the field or totally make the game over when the Bulldogs had the ball. Back to the other guy, Xavier Story. I'm more interested in the reasoning why. It doesn't really matter. But as a fan, I would like to know the why. Why are you leaving? What was it? Was it playing time? Was it a coach? Was it coaching? What was it? Dissatisfactory?
I think you mentioned all of them on that one, home team.
Yeah. Why are you leaving the Georgia program that lost by 3 in a championship game to Alabama?
Do we ever
guys in the NFL like crazy?
Do we ever really know that though, Paul? I mean, honestly, do we ever even hear that? It's just kind of
it doesn't. It never makes its way to the surface. There's always back channel stuff on all these guys, but you never truly find out why a guy leaves. I mean, the reason home team said coaches playing time. I know playing time was a big thing for Story. I think he thought that he should have been on the field more than he was. which was weird to me because he got on the field so much in the championship game and wasn't out there pretty much throughout the whole season. So I think it was another, thing that they were trying to get smart and get cute and get him out there and maybe throw Saban off, and it didn't quite work. But Beyond Creative says Muse is like Novocaine. But when it wears off,
I guess that's effective.
Instead effective, effective. But when it wears off,
effective is a good word.
The big thing here, though, guys, is I find myself, and I don't know if this is kind of the question I'll pose to you guys. I find myself following, and I know I work for a recruiting site, and I have to follow recruiting, but the recruiting cycle just doesn't seem as fun as the portal cycle does. Now, I find myself in the portal cycle more often, like really following the news, because it's just such big names that have already made their case on the college stage. And I like that the portal's open for a guy like Mekhi Muse. If he wants to go get some money, he's not probably going to make the NFL, right, guys? Right. And never say never, but he can go make a little bit of money, go play somewhere else. I don't like it because of the fact that you have like Dylan Gabriel, who can just jump from school to school and go from Oklahoma, and now he goes to Oregon. I'm not a fan of it in that way, but I do find myself following it just way more than I do recruiting. And Dogfather has a point. The recruiting cycle is almost a wrap, and Georgia wrapped up their class, in June and July. So there hasn't been a ton of, movement in that. This transfer portal stuff, though, it's quite interesting. And for teams like Georgia, though, they lose so many guys, they never get back the same return on the guys that they lose. They might get 6 or 7 guys this portal transfer season. They've already lost 13 or 14, and that number is probably going to go up a little bit more. Where do you find yourself? Are you like combing the news constantly for this portal stuff like I am, or is it just, big guys jump in and it's no big deal?
I see recruiting now. I'm making try to make as close of an equivalency to college football to the NFL now, because that's where we're going. We're talking about NIL and amounts of money. But I look at recruiting as the draft, and I look at the transfer portal as free agency. You kind of hear about guys in recruiting, and so you're hopeful about what they can do and bring to the program. A person that transfers, you've seen them, or at least you have hope of what they could improve upon, or if they weren't good, how they could get better. And then you can see what they can do for the next program. If you're one of the teams that's losing a player, well, he was okay, we can get by. Oh my God, is my backup quarterback, we could be in trouble. So I think there's more of an attachment and emotion when it comes to the transfer portal now, because you have had some connection with the player, as to where it used to be the whole connection was waiting to see how the guy who was recruited was going to turn out. Now you've at least seen something for at least a year, and now you're either mad at the guy for leaving, hurtful that the guy is leaving, or you're happy that the guy is leaving. If you're, fans of Kyle McCord up there at Ohio State way, they seem to treat the guy. So it's just more of an emotional attachment to me, and more akin to NFL free agency, the way that the portal has pulled on emotions.
A lot of that in recruiting, they don't get to the school. So even though they may have been committed to your school and they flip, they weren't there. But you got a guy that's worn the G for a year or 2 years, and then he says, "Screw it, I'm out." So yeah, there is that emotional attachment. It is like it's the Georgia, you're a part of it, and it's not anymore. So yeah, I'm with you. That's kind of how I look at it as well.
But what about the guys coming in, Eddie, that left their school, and now Dominic Lovett is wearing the G, and you love him, right? So it's a two-way road.
Yeah, it's a two-way street. And by the way, Dominic Lovett and Ra can both come back next year, right? Am I wrong?
They probably
about
will.
That?
Yeah,
I would think that they would. And we're early in this, guys. We're looking at it, Paul. You're looking at it almost negatively, like, oh my God, Georgia's lost all these players. It's up to double. No, I mean, that's the way you started it, and that's fine. That's where we are right now. And I'm not knocking you. That's the way it is right now. But we got to look at this thing in totality. Come 6 months from now, what did Kirby get back? What came in? And we're just starting that process. London Humphreys coming in from Vanderbilt. The kid looks like a stud. It may be the next Ladd McConkey. You don't know, and there's other guys that are coming in. This kid from South Carolina, this defensive lineman, I can't say his name. I'm not even going to try, but he may be coming on board. So it's
Xavier McLeod.
Yeah. So there you go. There you go. So it's kind of unwritten at this point. We don't know what's going to happen yet. It's panic time now if you look at it right now. But overall, I think we'll be fine.
It's fun. I saw someone mention Trevor Etienne. Like, it's like, what
Yep.
if we get Florida Gators' best player? You know, they
Right.
only have a couple of good players, and we take them. That's, to me, it's great because I like to say, yeah, your team sucks so bad he wanted to come play for a winner, and so it's like Florida's the AAA, and we're the big league, and so we let them go down there and play for a year and get good, and
lose 7 times 3 years in a row, and then come up here and win.
and then come to the big leagues and go win a natty. So, and
Right.
plus Darian Kendrick, we got him, and he was a huge part of the national championship 2 years ago. So.
Yeah, it's you also have folks like Dog 85 here, home team. It says it is sad to me that after 2 years in Georgia, you do not share the loyalty and love that I did as a kid. I think it's a little different, right? Home team. This is all about the Benjamins at this point, right?
It's just a different world, and what college football was. I don't know what year it was. I don't know what TV deal it was. I don't know where it changed, but somewhere in the last 12 to 15 years, it has changed. And it used to be an extension of the university. And look, you don't have to attend the University of Georgia to be a fan. Clearly, one of the best fan bases, in all of sports, has a gaggle of fans who did not attend the university. But the way it was designed, it was supposed to be a part of the university's ability to entertain the fan base. Then it started growing. Then it with the radio. Then it goes to TV. But at some point, it's changed, and it is hard when somebody is all in with their emotions, and they once you get recruited and you've had some wins and helped the team and the program win, to stick around. But unfortunately, like a lot of things in this world that used to be, if you want to say, pure and unadulterated by money, this has become a business, and kids have 4 or 5 years to see if they can make it to the NFL. Everybody thinks they're going to the NFL, and those that are special have to do what they feel is best. Now, what we see, what our opinions are, sometimes don't jive with that, but I completely understand a fan who just says, hey, why would you leave us now? Aren't you one of us? Haven't you been through the recruiting cycle and then you made your choice to come to UGA and you didn't stay? I get that, but I think the best advice I can give them is love them while they're here. Love them while you see them. Love them for a season or two, however long, because you never know. At the end of any year, they could be out of here.
Yeah, and I like how you attributed it to NFL free agency, because I think that's kind of unfortunately where it's going. Eventually, they're going to have to rein this in, I think, and once we get rid of the COVID years, which I read somewhere it's not till 2026, because like
2026?
Yeah. So it started in 2020,
Gosh.
but like if you have a redshirt year, you have a grad transfer year, and you have a COVID year, you could potentially see that COVID year still come into effect until 2026. So we still have like 3 more seasons of that being a thing, and until that gets reined in, and you have all these transfers, like, you're going to continue to see guys jump from school to school to school. Now, what if you got to jump from one school to the next because the coaches left, things like that, I get it. Or if you see opportunity, at a different school that you're just not getting at that school. I'm never going to knock a kid for saying, hey, man, I really love the University of Georgia. I'm going to commit to the University of Georgia. And you get there, and heck, you might be in the inside linebackers room and you just don't jive with those guys. Like, you're the outsider, whereas you're a cool guy. And then you head over to Florida State, and all those guys in there you're cool with, and you like the coach, and I'm not going to hate you for that.
Or what if the coach tells you you're not playing, and they tell you to transfer, and you go to a little community college, and hey, who knows, you come back and win 2 national championships. You never. I mean, that's Stetson was told many times by Kirby Smart and his staff he wasn't going to play. So
this is a great one from Caleb DG. He says fans are quick to judge, but if someone was offering life-saving money to them, they'd switch up quick. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money getting thrown around out here, guys. I mean, I've heard of backup receivers getting $6,000 a month to transfer. I mean, it's good, pretty good money for a college kid.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. It's kind of changed a little bit in the fact that a few years ago it was NFL or bust. That's where you were. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's, hey, I'm probably not going to make the NFL, but I can take advantage of this NIL, and I'm not getting paid here. I'm going to go to Vanderbilt for 3 years and get paid in NIL. That's my cap right there, right? You understand what I'm getting at? So it's changed a little bit for the way these players think, I think, because how many make the NFL? What is it? I don't know. What's
256 a year, right? Something
yeah,
like that?
I don't know what the percent is. It's
And
very,
then you
very
have
low.
that get drafted. I don't know. It's 32 times 7.
It's
too late
ridiculously
for math.
low, right? But they can capitalize in college now, so they're moving around to try to make those NIL deals.
And there's a reverse serve to that too. Just take, for example, Drake May. If Drake May thought he could get better run, better pub, or better positioning, not that he would, but just say he could, leaving North Carolina and going to Alabama because there'd been more money. But he really likes Mac Brown. He really likes his teammates. He really likes playing in Chapel Hill. If they have a good collective, and maybe it won't be the gazillions he would get at Alabama, but it's not nothing, you know what? You keep a guy like that because you have a war chest to keep somebody who might get more going somewhere else. But if you could just give him something that could keep him happy, that could, even out some of these guys jumping. So you have to look at it, unfortunately, like a business. A lot of us who've grown up in the South, it's passionate. It's about who you are. It's a part of what you do on Saturdays and a part of your lifestyle. It's a business now. And I'm not going to tell any kid, everybody's situation is different. Shedeur Sanders, he's rich. Marvin Harrison Jr., he grew up rich. Everybody doesn't grow up like that. So if somebody can change your life or some business or some collective or some NIL deal or some other program could change your life, I'm all for life-changing opportunities for anybody. And that goes vice versa. Come on to Georgia, Trevor Etienne. Hope you enjoyed your stay in the swamp, but come on to Georgia. That's what I'm saying. And so you can take from people too.
Yeah. It's always a give and a take. Right now, like Eddie said, it's very much a give right now. It's giving season in Georgia. Trust me, though, Kirby will be taking his and getting his back. He is. If there's one thing Kirby's probably the best at in the nation is roster management, and so there's no reason to doubt that he will bring back just as many guys as we see on this board leaving, coming back in, and you'll be like, damn. All right, well, we upgraded that. We upgraded this. Maybe this is a toss, but most of these are upgrades. Moving forward, though, let's switch topics here. There are also give and takes in the Atlanta Falcons.
Wait. Before we get to that shit show, I got to ask Brandon a question. I got to ask this question. Do you believe with the Final Four that were put in the college football playoffs?
We're doing this?
Yes, I want to know this because I want to know Brandon's perspective. A, did he agree with it? And B, what did you hear from your listeners, the people you interact with Twitter? What was their feeling about the Final Four?
I don't agree with it because it's hypocrisy all over the place. If it's supposed to be the 4 best teams, 4 best, meaning that there is some subjectivity, but the 4 best, you cannot say that Georgia losing one game on a neutral field by 3 points in a game that came down to the final few minutes now makes them the 6th best team in college football or drops them out of the playoffs. So they do not automatically become not one of the best teams. The flip side where everybody was focused was Florida State, who won all of their games, had no question about where they should fall if they win a game, fell after they went undefeated as a Power 5. The first time we have seen an undefeated Power 5 not make it. So no, Eddie, to answer your question, I didn't agree with it. But then you get into the minutia of the politics.
Well, who's your Final Four then, Brandon?
I would have said you have to put in Washington. You have to put in Alabama. You have to put in Georgia. And you have to put in Florida State. Sorry. I know Texas beat Alabama.
They're out.
Sorry.
What about Michigan?
Yeah, what about Michigan?
I got Big Ten hate. I'm not perfect.
At least you admit it.
Yeah, I'm not perfect. But the point is, somebody has to be out. So if you go Michigan and Washington as your 2 automatics, then who are the 2? Georgia and Alabama? That ain't right. Then you go Alabama and Florida State? Well, that ain't right. Do you go Georgia and Florida State? Alabama saying that ain't right. So it becomes down to what I just did. It's your opinion. It became an opinion. I think the one thing that happened is we got cheated 1 year too late. That if we had the 12-team playoff this year, even if Georgia and Florida State didn't get the seeding they wanted, then at least we can still have it worked out on the field. And we're not going to get it worked out on the field. So, Eddie, no, I don't think that they got it right. I think Alabama is going to smash Michigan. So, yeah, they earned it. But if you're talking about putting the best in and what you want to see, how do you do that with one game where a team is going to get smashed, in my opinion? So, no, I do not think they got it right. I think Georgia and I think Florida State should have been in the college football playoff.
Do you think
KC
Florida State got penalized? Oh, go ahead, Paul. Yeah.
I was just gonna say KC agreed with you so much he donated $10. He said he doesn't agree either. So we appreciate
I'd like
that.
to see
KC.
what he says, though. I mean, hell no, I don't agree. Okay, what do you want to say?
Well, he said you can't leave Alabama after being UGA, which I agree with. Yeah. And
so do you think they punished Florida State because of that whole ACC, how, they did that, was it with the Pac-10, how they had that little coalition crap. And so they were the ones that delayed the 12-team playoff. So do you think they said, you know what, Florida State, we would have been in the 12-team playoff if it wasn't for the ACC. Screw them.
I don't know if that was the reason. I think they were punished because you're not going to tell me, I don't care what your last name is, Herb Street, Howard, where you sit, who you work for. You're not going to tell me if the exact same scenario presented itself to Alabama and they were an undefeated team with back-to-back weeks where they lost quarterbacks and on the third string. There's no way they're out. You're not even going to tell me, and I know he has passed on, but you're not going to tell me if Bobby Bowden were the head coach of Florida State and they were undefeated and won their last two games with two different quarterbacks. By the way, in a month, it would have been the backup quarterback, not the third string quarterback playing in the college football playoff game. You're not going to tell me they're keeping Florida State out. So I think it was disrespect. I think it was fear that it was going to be an awful show in the college football playoff. And it was the one time the committee didn't get bailed out by a Texas loss in the championship game, a Washington loss in the Pac-12. We've always had one of those conferences at the end, fumble the bag at the end. And this is where they had to really make a hard decision. And they didn't, in my opinion, do the right thing.
Brandon, I'll expose it right now. Switch FSU's helmet with Clemson. Exactly the same.
Dabo's going. No way you're not telling me different. So it becomes, Eddie, to that point, disrespect and what you think the value of Florida State is, which is why they should be outraged that they aren't some slappy that shows up. They put people in the NFL too. They won multiple championships too, and they have multiple Heisman Trophy Award winners too. They are one of the blue bloods you would think, but it's disrespect to the ACC and disrespect to their program.
Clemson would be in.
No doubt, without a doubt. Texas would have been out, and Georgia and Alabama would have been the top. That's exactly what would have happened. Yes,
it's unfortunate, right? Because you can make a case for all six of those teams, and I think I tweeted this out, and it kind of went mega viral. No big deal, right? But it did. I said exactly what home team said. You can either do best and you put Georgia in, or you do most deserving, and FSU is in. Yeah. So. Either way, they got it wrong. They tried to feed from both sides of that, and they ended up getting it wrong both ways. So it's unfortunate, but here we are. Georgia's on the outside looking in. 1 loss, 3-point loss on a neutral site keeps you from and I know it's a conference championship game. I get it. But Bama lost at home by double digits to Texas, and they're still in the game. Georgia lost their chance to a three-peat because they played their worst game in years, and on a neutral site and lost by 3 points. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'll tell you what also is unfortunate, because I tried to switch over there. Eddie brought us back. I'm going to now do like home team does and traffic cop this show a little bit here. And what else is unfortunate is these Atlanta Falcons, man. They truly, really have just crapped the bed in the worst way. And another terrible showing today. I don't know what it is with Desmond Ridder inside the 20, whether it's the red zone or his own 20. He's really good in between those two spots there, those 60 yards. But outside of that, what's your thought on this home team? We've talked a lot about Georgia Bulldogs, and we've done a little bit of Falcons talk together on TV and whatnot, but we haven't done any this year. What's your thought on this team, man? I mean, this schedule is set up so easily for the Falcons to waltz into the playoffs. And here we are, after week 13, week 14, it's 6-7. It's just where are we at?
We're just at average. And, now it's all in front of you. You've had so many games where the defense played well and you didn't win them. And then there are games where the defense doesn't play like they did in those games where they play well, and the offense could win them, and you're not winning those. This was a disastrous loss. You win this game, you have a stranglehold on the NFC South. Doesn't mean by any stretch of the imagination you have locked it up, but you win today. You're 7-6. Tampa Bay goes to 5-8. Saints won, so all right, there's still a game behind you, but it was how you lost. The defense put up 4 consecutive stops where there were punts after punts after punts. You give up a pick inside of your 10-yard line. You give up a safety in back-to-back weeks. When are we ever going to see who does that? And now you got yourself a 12-10 game going into the half when you should have been up at least 1 score, and maybe you make them play from behind. So I think Desmond Ridder is just not confident. It shows in the throws and his decision-making. He's not been helped out by Arthur Smith and the play calling, but ultimately, a quarterback has to be confident. He's got nowhere else to go. If he doesn't perform well, they'll be looking for a quarterback in the draft anyway. So play like you're never going to start for a franchise again. I don't get that from him. And the it factor is just not something that he has. So it's too bad. Defense played well in the first half. They couldn't come up with the stop at the end of the game. Offense couldn't do diddly in the first half. Then they try to clean it up, put cologne on a turd in the fourth quarter, and it still ended up not looking good or not smelling well.
Well, Desmond Ridder threw the ball 40 times today. The coach is supposed to be this great this play caller and running game, and we only had 26 rushing attempts, and you had 40 passing. Desmond Ridder does not need to be throwing the ball 40 times a game.
Here's the thing, though. You had 2 missed field goals. Jerry Dogs fan says 2 missed field goals. Those are also super long field goals, and just Koo was bound to have a bad game. He's been lights out. I mean, you can't blame it on Koo at all, but you could have won the game technically. But they still would find a way to lose that game, I think, home team. But go ahead.
What are you? I'd like for you to tell me. If you ask me what are the Falcons, this is what I would say. I would say I think the Falcons are a defensive team that comes up with stops and turnovers. They are a power running team, and they've been working on the offense. That's what my assessment would be. Now I have to tell you, I don't know what they're doing. They came out throwing and threw one of the reasons the ball was picked off was because you ran a screenplay 3 or 4 times before they sniffed it out. So you kind of showed your hand a little bit early. Your field goal kicker, who did miss 2 field goals, has been lights out. Why are you relying on your field goal kicker to keep you in first place and to save you? That should be a weapon that you use to extend leads, to make an 8-point game, an 11-point game, a 9-point game, a 12-point game, not somebody who you need to keep bailing you out. So he had a bad game today. And why is Bijan Robinson only getting 15 touches in a game? You have nowhere else to go. Why don't you get this guy 18, 19 carries a game, 5, 6 pass attempts or receptions a game, and then let the chips fall where they may. When you're not putting the ball in the hands of your biggest playmaker, you get kind of what you get today. Missed field goals, defense comes up short at the end, and a quarterback that just can't get it done.
So 3 things to me, guys. The first of which, if we go back to last year, Arthur Smith is the coach, and he was stubborn as hell with Marcus Mariota. Yep. Where the hell's Marcus Mariota right now? Is he even in the league?
He may be backing up in Philly.
Philly Great. Good for him. He's sitting on the bench holding a clipboard. Arthur Smith was stubborn with him, and we could have seen at this point whether Desmond Ridder was the answer or not. There were at least 8 games where Desmond Ridder could have played, and we'd have figured that out. That's on Arthur Smith. The second thing, Kyle Pitts was a number 4 pick. The number 4 pick. He's this generational tight end, going to change the NFL. We had a chance there on the 30 to throw the ball to the end zone, okay, to maybe win the game. Miracle play, whatever. We had a chance. What did he do? He threw it short of the end zone. That's one problem, okay? And Drake London caught the ball and got down on the 2. Why don't you throw the ball up for grabs for Kyle Pitts? He's supposed to be this incredible guy. Throw the ball up to him. And the third thing, guys, instead of drafting Kyle Pitts, how big would our defense look right now if we'd have had Jordan Davis or Jalen Carter on the defensive line? You could have had both of those guys. How much better would our defense have been today? They passed on them both, Brandon. They passed on them for Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and I'll never forgive them for it.
I agree with you with that, but they don't play fullback, tight end, or wide receiver. You are not losing games only because of your defense. You are losing games because your offense is Jurassic. It is because you can't get repeated touchdowns to Kyle Pitts, who, by the way, found the end zone for one of the few times all season. You can't get Drake London in the end zone. He falls short instead of throwing it to him in the end zone when you have to score a touchdown to win the game. Defense, if you want to say something, Terry Fontenot hit with his free agent picks in defense. Jesse Bates is the best person on this team. David Onyemata.
Jesse Bates is incredible. He's incredible.
David Onyemata and Grady Jarrett were fantastic up front, but Grady blows out his knee. And now we're
good too. Yeah.
Onyemata has been banged up and playing hurt. So I would love to have Jordan Davis on this team. But the problem has been if you're stopping people, but you're scoring 17 points a game like this Falcons offense was, and then when you score 25 and you still sometimes you have to score 30. Sometimes you have to score the Ravens have to score 37 today. We haven't scored 30 points one time. So those great Bulldog players can't help the offense, and I'm interested now in somebody helping the offense.
But Brandon, you say all that. Are you good with Kyle Pitts and Drake London, where they were drafted and what their production has been since they were drafted in those positions?
I'm the one thing I'm going to say about Kyle Pitts is something is wrong with him, and I think the Falcons are in a pickle because he hasn't been on the injury report.
Injured?
I'm telling you my opinion of seeing him in person and my opinion of going into that building every week and watching him, his knee is not right. So you go from 1,000-yard season, almost breaking a tight end rookie record that stood for 60 years, your rookie year, then you blow out your knee. This is the year after coming back, and you still aren't right. I don't think he's right. So to your point, Drake London, Chris Olave was there, Garrett Wilson was there. Does it matter if Desmond Ridder can't get him the ball? I say no.
So are you saying the issue is the quarterback or is it the offensive line? Or
100% on the quarterback, and then the play calling and decision making. Your quarterbacks and your coaches win you games in the National Football League.
Exactly.
And our quarterback and our coach, they're not doing that on a consistent basis. Period. And the evidence shows you week after week.
Curse of butt smear, Beyond Creative says. Until they draft a dog, nothing good comes to them. Yeah, you might be right on that, guys.
They drafted Justin Schaefer.
I take Carson Beck. If Carson Beck wants to come to the Falcons, I'd take him.
Look,
we need some offense.
I said that 2 weeks ago. I said that 2 weeks ago.
I'd take Jaden Daniels in a heartbeat because he's projected around 16, 18. It's probably where the Falcons are going to end up.
You know where he's going to go. You know where he's going to go.
Tampa Bay.
Nope. He's going to go to the New Orleans Saints.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
That's where he's going, Brandon.
Oh,
what's happening.
Is that where he's mock draft at? Is that
they're not going to make the playoffs. They're going to have a higher draft pick, and they're going to take the homeboy. That's what they're going to do.
Can we just have something nice in the stockings for Christmas, Eddie? Don't put that in the stockings.
The Atlanta Falcons. You get turds in your stockings from the Falcons. That's what you get, Brandon. You know that.
Yeah. What is this? Let's wrap up the Falcons here and let's move on to the Braves here in just a second. But what does this team have to do? I mean, I watch it unfortunately every week. I do get a really nice nap out of it most times. Second, third quarter, I wake up in the fourth and I see that they're losing. They've got a game-winning drive to go down and do something with it. They fumble the bag and then I go about my day, right? First quarter, I'm in it. The Falcons are in it, moving the ball, nice drive. Second, third quarter, I doze off. Like I said, fourth quarter, come back and they lose the game. What does this team have to do to move forward? Is it a top to bottom change? Terry Fontenot, Artie Smith, Desmond Ridder. Is it top down, or is it just is it as simple as changing the quarterback? Like what are we expecting after this season? Are multiple assistant coaches going to be gone? Where do you see this thing playing out?
I think there have to be major decisions made. And I say that because, first of all, you started it in a bizarre manner. Who hires the coach before you hire the GM?
Yeah.
So the guy who's responsible for the coach and all of the players and all of the scouting department, he comes in after the coach comes in. Then you try to sell that these guys are buddy and they're going to be on the same page. So there's a major decision that needs to be made because it's clear Desmond Ridder isn't the quarterback. Do you get a quarterback for a 1-year stopgap in free agency? Do you go and draft another quarterback if you make or miss the playoffs? If you do that, do you allow Arthur Smith to come back? If you do, you have to give him a year with the new quarterback. Or do you replace the coach and bring the new coach in with the GM who picked him and let them pick their quarterback moving forward? I think there are major decisions because you've lost your grace period. I think the Falcons fans have given them a good 2-year grace period after leaving the confines of Matt Ryan as the franchise quarterback.
Up. They were loud
fans,
today. They're showing up. They want to see a winner. Yeah.
Fans have given you your grace period. Now it's time for you to, one, get some wins, get some continuity at the quarterback position, and get some stars in town and compete to repeatedly go to the playoffs. So, no, I don't think it's a coordinator here or there. I think there are major decisions Terry Fontenot and the Atlanta Falcons need to make.
Here's what I heard today. Here's what I heard this week. Real quick. I'm sorry, Paul.
You're good.
Matt Schaub coaches the cornerbacks, right? Matt Schaub is there on the staff. There are other coaches there that have quarterback experience. They don't have a quarterbacks coach on this team to coach Desmond Ridder. There's not a coach dedicated to helping him get better. Am I wrong about that, Brandon? Is that a mistake?
Well, they had Charles London. Shout out to the Dunwoody Wildcats, my alma mater in high school. He and Arthur Smith grew up in the Titans organization, and he was part of the quarterback coaching room when Matt Ryan was here. He just took a job to go back to Tennessee and has a role similar to that passing coordinator and is in the quarterback room as well. So I really don't think a quarterback coach would make a difference. Would Matt Schaub have something that he could contribute on a regular basis against the Ridder? Obviously, yes, but this is a talent issue. This is a winner issue. This is we can put the team on your back issue, and that is not existing. So that person either exists in the draft or in free agency or the year afterwards. But the question is Arthur Smith able to fix it with his play style and his coaching, or does Terry Fontenot have to do something very hard and get rid of a coach only 2 years into his coaching career and find a guy, or 3 years into his coaching career, and find a guy that he thinks is a little bit better?
All right, home team's the GM next year, and we pick 16th. What are you doing?
Quarterback.
What?
Whoever's there.
Who?
If Jaden Daniels is there, I'm taking him. If Michael Penix Jr. is there, I'm taking him.
You're taking a quarterback, period, at 16.
There's no waiting. You don't get a quarterback that goes to NFC Championship games, Pro Bowls, and Super Bowls in the second and third round. That's pie in the sky. Yeah, a couple of guys in the history of the NFL has done it, have been able to do that. But the guys who go and win and put a lot of wins and go to Super Bowls are first round quarterbacks. So you need to try to figure out which one of the guys left after the first two go, which I think will be Drake May and Caleb Williams. Which one of those guys can get you to a Super Bowl?
Trade for Justin Fields?
No. I think Justin Fields, look at his stats. They're just on par with Desmond Ridder.
He had a good day today.
He is one of those guys. He looks the part. He can run. He throws a lot of interceptions. He's a turnover machine, and we don't need that one more year, and especially with him coming back home and having to deal with that pressure as well. No, sir. You go in and you get somebody. What's wrong with getting a Heisman Trophy award winner if Jaden Daniels is sitting right there and you miss the playoffs? Nothing at all.
This mock draft is on Walter Football. It currently has, and I guess it's not updated as of today, but it had the Las Vegas Raiders taking Jaden Daniels at 11. So
who's it had the Falcons taken?
Let's see.
An Iowa tight end.
That would be too good of a player at Iowa. That's a Power 5 school.
Chop Robinson.
Yeah. Ooh, Chop Robinson might be a good one.
This guy on 17th with Cincinnati. Atlanta Falcons taking Keon Coleman from the Florida State.
So another wide receiver.
Another wide receiver.
We should have called it, Eddie.
Yeah, we should have known that. That was teed up for us, guys, and we missed that one for sure. Another wide receiver would absolutely be hysterical if they did that.
It would.
Guys, we got about 10 minutes left in the show. Let's break down these Atlanta Braves. They've got a new left fielder, Jared Kalinick, only 24 years old, guys. So you've heard, if you're a big baseball guy, you heard this name a lot. He was there. He was there. Ronald Acuna. He was their prospect, their prodigy. Didn't work out. Alex Anthopoulos went and traded, pennies on the dollar for him. His stock is very low, but he's a guy that can come in. I don't think, and I don't want to put any pressure on him, I don't know if his numbers are going to look as good as Rosario's, but he's got a good glove. He's young. Fits what this team needs. Is this all right with you guys for the left field position? Did you want more of a splash? Are you cool with the buy low here? Maybe potentially get him and you can sell him high or get him back to where everybody thought he was going to be. We're going to touch on that too. Tomahawks Shohei to the Dodgers. Just wait a second. Is this left fielder okay for you guys, or did you want more of a splash? Home team?
I can live with it. What are you going to do? You're going to pay Gugam some money for Juan Soto or trade for Juan Soto? I mean, what are you going to do? You have the final year coming up for your DH position, and there's some moves going into next year that you have to start thinking about. The question is, can you get it done? I think so, and it might be a platoon situation as well out there in the left field position. So I don't have a problem with it, and if that is going to be the weak link for the Braves, okay, you still have plenty of hitting power. You still have plenty of defense on your infield and still plenty of, leg room for Michael Harris, the second in center field to help out a little bit. So I'm okay with it. I don't think the Braves – I think the thing that the Braves need to tighten up the most is the bullpen and figuring out if they're going to have a dominant postseason rotation. I think the hitting and the defense will be just fine.
Yeah, Kelnick doesn't have to be the guy. That's the good thing for him. He, in Seattle, he was supposed to be the guy. Here, he can be that eighth guy in the batting order or whatever. So he doesn't have to be that guy. And so I'm good with the trade. And I think he's, a plus defender. So I think the outfield's going to be really good. Dylan Cease, that's where we need to go. We made that one trade, today with the Chicago White Sox. So maybe that's opening it up, and maybe they can get the lines going because we need Dylan Cease. That's the guy we need.
I'm good with. Is it Clinic or Kalinick?
It's Kelnick.
Kelnick. Okay, I just totally botched it. Sorry. Cut down on the strikeouts and don't kick a water cooler next year and break your foot. Okay,
there you go.
Then you're good. But that I love it. It's probably a brilliant AA move because it costs almost nothing, and this is what this guy does. AA, I'm talking about. He gets Jock Peterson, Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario, and we all looked at those guys. Who are these guys? And they won us a World Series. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win us a World Series, but he looks like a very high upside, low cost guy. And I was not a Vaughn Grissom in left field fan. I did not want to see that at all. And I think that solves that problem.
I think it solves that problem. I think probably, if I had to guess, Vaughn Grissom is probably traded for a pitcher before we even get to the season. But this gives you that you don't have to put him in left field now. You can use him as trade bait, and he's man. Whichever team gets Vaughn Grissom and plays him 162 games, kid's going to hit 25 home runs. I mean,
he's a hitter. He is a hitter.
Yeah. The big thing though, guys, is for so long there. I mean, for a little while there, it seemed like Shohei Ohtani could potentially be showing up in Atlanta to be an Atlanta Brave. And the more and more I looked away from this, the more and more folks kept talking about it. Yep. So then I, as a Braves fan, got my hopes up a little bit. I was like, oh man, I started projecting what this lineup would look like with Ohtani in it. I started looking at the rotation, not this year, but next year with Ohtani present. There was a lot. I mean, look, I didn't think the Atlanta Braves would ever do it, but also it's not my money. I don't really care if they paid him that much. It's not my money. The people that yell like, oh, that's a terrible financial decision. You're not the one paying the $700 million. It doesn't affect me. He goes to the Dodgers though. And this whole cycle that could have been avoided, because if we really looked at it long and hard, he was going to stay on the West Coast, and the Dodgers were probably the likely landing spot. But for whatever reason, the Blue Jays got their hopes up because they started tracking planes. And, the Braves got their hopes up because somebody photoshopped him into a Braves uniform and said that he wanted to play for a winner. And it got me up to, hoping there. The Dodgers, though, now have, just an enormous payroll. Does this change? This is 10 years. Ohtani's now in the NL. And the Braves are going to have to get through that team now, home team. does this change your thoughts on the Dodgers at all, or is it just, they're the Yankees of the National League, if you will, in terms of spending?
You just stole exactly what I was going to say. They're just the Yankees of the National League. Somebody's available. We want to get them. Money's not the issue. Get them in here. Clearly, the biggest contract maybe we will see in our lifetimes. We might be talking in the locker room tomorrow on 6 8 fan about, can we name 2 guys who may have been, now that their careers are over, may have been worth that? If you talk about Tom Brady going to 9 Super Bowls, or Tiger Woods, or Michael Jordan and Tom Brady, we might play a match game, but
LeBron James,
LeBron James, and who is worth $700 million, because boy, that is, $350 million times 2. You're basically paying for what he does. He's 2 players. He's a pitcher who can have Cy Young award-winning stuff, and he's a hitter who could have MVP type of stuff. Question becomes now, he's not pitching at all in 2024. When he comes back in 25, do you make him a pitcher? Do you use him as a relief guy, to an old school Goose Gossage 3-inning guy? Do you make him a closer or a setup man? How do you best use him, save him, stretch him out for 10 years? Because a decade of paying a guy, $192,000 a game, that is some serious coin.
$192,000 a day.
A day. I'm sorry.
I think it was 430,000
$230,000 per game
a day for the next 10 years. The next 10 years.
What constitutes a return on your investment? 2, 3 World Series. How do you justify paying out almost $1 billion to one guy?
Yeah. He's worth more than the Coyotes in the NHL. Their whole team. Yeah. It's 6. You could buy the Coyotes of the NHL for $675 million, but they instead got Ohtani for $700 million. It's one of those things, man. Like it also makes you think, like, who's going to be the first $1 billion athlete? Is he around right now? Is he even out there? I don't think he is. Right?
Wembanyama, maybe. We don't have any idea what he may be. But let's just say he's LeBron mixed in with KD. Could it be him? I have no idea how you even get to a conversation where you say, is $700 million overleaded?
Yeah, I don't know. $700 million, Eddie. I know it wouldn't change your life much because you're already pretty much up there in life. But what would you think about getting a 10% increase on your salary yearly?
Well, you would piss me off more than anything. You know how much he's paying in taxes in California? $350 million of that is going to taxes. Think about
$350 million.
But then you still have 300. Like, people say that they're like,
I know. You still
they're like, oh man, look at the taxes this guy's paying. Okay. It's like he's still getting $350 million. That's more than all 4 of our families will make in the entirety of this earth.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's all
except Eddie's family. Eddie's family.
Yeah, right. Eddie's already halfway there, so he's working on it.
Can we get beyond this? I mean, so my thoughts on the Dodgers, first of all. Brandon touched on a little bit. I think they overpaid just a tad for him. And the reason is because that's 2 Tommy Johns, guys. 2, not 1. Usually when you come off that first one, you're a better pitcher. After 2, is he going to be able to pitch? Now, you said he may come in as a reliever. I don't know.
Dude, I would be scared to tell if he came in as a closer and a DH.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because you might have to do that. He's not going to pitch for 10 years and bat for 10 years.
Right.
No,
exactly right.
And if it does, he's the best MLB baseball player of all time, period, point blank, into discussion. And then the $700 million is worth it. It's justified at that point. But like Home Team said, you probably make him a closer after like 3 years.
Maybe. He's still hitting 40 the other thing with the Dodgers, okay, they still don't have any front pitching. They have no starting pitching at all, okay? And they're getting a little old. Freddie's getting older. Mookie's getting older, okay, and they just pushed everything to the table and said, "Here we go." And they're still not a complete team. So
what if they win the World Series? Say they win the World Series this year.
I don't know that they will, Andy. That's what
I'm just saying. Let's hypothetically say they do. If they win just one World Series,
okay, then they did the right thing. But I'm just saying, right now, as it stands, our starting pitching is better than the Dodgers as it stands right now. They don't have the starting pitching that we do, okay? Now, I'm not saying the Dodgers are done. This is the Los Angeles Dodgers. They'll probably get Dylan Cease on top of it. and win the World Series on top of it. Okay. But as it stands right now, they still got a lot of work to do. Okay.
The only thing I will say, Eddie, is that they were extremely banged up with their starting pitching. And you talk about frontline starting. No, I'm not saying that we weren't, but you can't say I can't agree when you have Tony Gonsolin out way ahead of time, and you have Walker Buehler out way ahead of time. If they're going with Kershaw and Buehler and Gonsolin, and now maybe Ohtani, they have some pitching. They can pitch. And the question is, how do we combat that? The funny part is, it wasn't the pitching, even with our injuries that let us down. It was our bats went ice cold, which I'm hoping was just once in 1,000 years that could ever happen to the Braves with all the firepower we have at the plate.
100%.
Yeah. I really think our lineup will be fine. I think we've got to get a starting pitcher. We need a postseason playoff starting pitcher, and that is what Dylan Cease is. And Bill Shanks loves the guy, and Bill knows baseball better than anybody I've ever met. Dylan Cease is that dude. I really think we need to get Dylan Cease. And again, he's only going to make like $8 or $9 million this year through arbitration. I mean, just
like how Home Team is the prime all-star pitcher on that morning show. You've got guys like John Michaels and B. Finn. They can get you through the season, right? But then you need Home Team to really bring you through in that post game. So.
I'm Roger Dorn from Major League.
Dude, if you're Roger Dorn,
holding it together.
Yeah. Do you take the ball when you get beamed? Do you go down like Dorn does? Oh, that's the best part.
Not like Roger Dorn at the end when you tighten up to win the title. You do what you have to do, and you tell somebody to strike this so-and-so
strike
out.
this mother out. There you go.
That's who I am.
Before we go, I know you're getting ready to wrap it up, Paul. Brandon, I got a couple things for you. First, when did you get started in sports talk radio in Atlanta? And two, how did you become Home Team? Where did that come from?
Well, I say it as often as I can. I am the luckiest guy to ever sit in front of a microphone. One, to do it in Atlanta, but also to do it in a place where you grow up. A lot of guys in this business, they have to go to Iowa, they have to go to Albuquerque. They're working a 3:00 shift, somewhere in Tennessee. I am a lucky so-and-so that I've been able to get up and work in Atlanta over the course of, multiple radio stations. I got started, with my passion, very lucky. Called in years ago. Somebody was talking badly about the Braves on a lunch break. I called in, and we actually became really good friends. Mitch Evans was filling in on a show where Jamie Dukes and Matt Stewart used to host. And I listened to that show every day, and he was filling in, and he was talking badly about the Braves. And I read him the riot act and said, "You're the reason that we have a problem here in this town. You're not from Atlanta. You're not for Atlanta, and we need somebody from Atlanta for Atlanta on the radio station." And he said, "If you think you can do better, why don't you come down here?" And I said, "I'll be there." One thing led to another, and years later, I get a chance to sit out with you guys. And I got my nickname when I started to intern. I had accumulated a bunch of jerseys when I was in high school, of just all Atlanta jerseys. And so I had on a Scott Hastings Atlanta Hawks jersey. And one of my colleagues looked over at me. He said, "Scott Hastings doesn't have a Scott Hastings jersey anymore. Where'd you get that from?" Never mind. Your name is Home Team. And it just kind of stuck because I only care about the teams from this state and from this city.
That's awesome. So tell everybody real quickly how they can listen to your show in the mornings and what you guys do every morning.
We try to infotain. We're on 680 The Fan, and you can listen to us via the radio. We have a great app, 680 The Fan. If you go to the Google Play or App Store, the Apple Store, you download that. You can stream us live. We also have video streaming on the app, so you can see us at 6 o'clock in the morning, which is also pretty entertaining, we think. But we got five really good guys. 3 former NFL players: Brian Finneran, more than a decade with the Falcons; Joe Hamilton, a Super Bowl winner with Tampa Bay; and Hudson Mason, who played up in Canada and had a cup of coffee with the Washington franchise in the NFL. So 3 pro athletes. And then John Michaels and I, we are the radio hardliner lifers. That side of the room is the football guys. This side of the room are the guys that were radio guys for a long time. So we try to make it work at infotain for 4 hours, 6 to 10, Monday through Friday on 680 The Fan.
How did you just do fireworks on
Yeah,
your
who
background?
did that? Was that your fireworks?
I just raised my hands. I don't know what that was. I don't know.
Paul set it up for you.
That was
I thought
perfect, though.
Paul did something.
I thought you were telling me to wrap it up.
That was perfect.
That was
perfect.
interesting.
Yeah. But home team, we appreciate you so much, man. I
Awesome.
really sincerely enjoy doing shows with you on 11 Alive. Like I said, Maria Martin hit me up and asked me to be on, and I always ask who the other person is, and she said nobody was on. I get my pick, and I said home team, man, and I appreciate you, being on there and kind of taking the front road and let me sit behind you. You take the big stuff and let me go next. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate you jumping on with us. It's been a heck of a time. We're right here at an hour and staying the whole hour. We really appreciate it, and we'd love to have you back on. Once things get rolling for these Braves, or we get maybe a coach firing in Atlanta for the Falcons. That would be excellent.
That'd be good. Yeah, that'd be great.
Don't
See
be
how that
afraid.
turns out.
Awesome. That would be
Hey,
awesome.
I'm going to be personally offended if you guys don't have me back. Andy, good to meet you for the first time.
You too, man.
Eddie has been a loyal listener. I really appreciate this. I love paying it forward. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who needs to be on a podcast. It's Eddie from Ackworth. He's always been passionate and knowledgeable about the Dogs and Falcons. And Paul, please, anytime you're on, I love being on with you on 11 Alive. And if you guys don't have me back on, I will take personal offense to it.
Home team, we appreciate you, man. For the All Things Georgia podcast and call-in show, Eddie from Ackworth, Andy Stowe, home team from 680 The Fan. Make sure to check him out 6 to 10 Monday through Friday. And I'm Paul Meharry. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks so much.
He must have did
The hour flew by.
It did.
Yeah, that was good.
Fast.
Hold on.
How was that, Paul?
Hold on. I think we're still live. Hold on. Let me put my hat back on. What just happened? How are we still live? Are we still live? Can you guys see me?
It says you're in a show. Yeah.
Yeah.